Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 23 of the Serious Football Heads podcast. As always, to my right, I have Tom. Tom, how are you doing this week?
Hey, how you doing? Long time caller, first time listener. Um, doing well, doing well. I'm excited about this coming week. We had a Chargers victory for some odd reason last week, so that was exciting. And otherwise, just looking forward to another great weekend of football.
Yeah, I'm doing the same. Just to let everybody know, the reason why I didn't get episode 22.1 put out, my mother-in-law was in the hospital all last week, basically, and she passed away on Monday. Things are going fine with the family and all. I just didn't get a chance to get around to do it, so
Well,
it's
we send
understandable.
our
I know.
condolences. We send our condolences, and hope that your family makes it through this.
Yep, we will. It's just a matter of time and patience. So, but with now that, let's get down to business. Nothing
Oh,
really
you know
that we.
what? I'm sorry. I can't do this right now. I have to go bowling.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
be back in just a little bit, okay?
So, all right. So, nothing really in the news this week other than the Patriots signed a trick shot kicker.
Well, you've got the Le'Veon Bell thing, which was just kind of silly, of going bowling Saturday night till 1 o'clock in the morning when he was supposedly too sick to play on Sunday.
Yeah,
Um, and as Adam Gase said, he can't confine him to his house. He's a grown man. He
yeah,
has his own life, but it just is a bad look.
it
And
is.
again, yet another ill-advised decision by Le'Veon Bell. And you've got the non-story, in my opinion, of the Spygate 2
Yeah, I
with the
saw that.
Patriots supposedly spying on Cincinnati. I would love to see what that video is. I owned a video production company for many, many years. And if we're looking at a camera that's locked off, that's just showing the sidelines, more than likely the guy left the camera on
Yeah,
and it was a mistake. If we're seeing a shot that zooms in on people, that pans right and left, then that's an operated camera looking for something specific on the sideline.
exactly.
I think we'll find out pretty quick what's going on. But from what I understand, nobody's expecting this to turn into anything other than just a mistake.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hearing too. It they're just things that need to let die, and this is one of them. So, um, yeah. As a matter of fact, as of yesterday, about I'm not sure if that's Eastern time or Pacific time, but as of 6:03 p.m. yesterday, Goodell no timeline on ruling on Pat's video probe. So it sounds like to me the NFL knows this is a nothing burger and letting it go. But
Yep.
how about some good news from the NFL? Something we don't hear about a lot, and but it is something that we do kind of hear. Those of us in the circle hear every year. Khalil Mack paid off $80,000 worth of Walmart layaway
I
bills.
saw that. I saw that. I thought that was pretty nice of him.
I mean, you hear about it in almost every city. One player does something like this, and
Yeah.
it's not to get on the Walter Payton Man of the Year awards or anything like that. It's just being nice, and that's something that we should be hearing about all year round, not just the Patriots are investigating this team or that team or whatever.
Yeah, and he did it in his hometown. I don't know what the name of the hometown is, but I went into the Walmart and just paid off everybody's layaway. So everybody has a much happier Christmas now because all of their bills are paid for Walmart. So the
Yeah.
gifts they had laid away for their kids or whatever, they'll be able to just pick up and wrap and put under the tree.
Yep. Yep.
So that
It
was
was
pretty nice.
Fort Pierce, Florida. That's where it was.
There was someone else. I'm trying to remember who it was last week who paid off an entire school's lunch debt.
Oh, yeah, that I remember seeing that.
I can't remember who it is, but it's another example of of just doing something nice because you can. I mean, $80,000 to Khalil Mack, it's like being in line at McDonald's and paying for the person behind you.
Yeah.
It's he'll be fine.
Yeah.
So that was an incredible gesture.
Yeah, it was. So, um last week's games not a whole lot to cover. I mean, like I said, we didn't our picks we made our picks to each other, but I didn't get them out there. I did pick Dallas. That was a big mistake.
Yeah, I I looked at that and I just went, you know what? Dallas either bounces back on this or they fall apart completely.
Yeah.
And to me, this is a team that has fallen apart completely. Every time Jerry Jones opens his mouth, the team gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got, for all the talent they have there, they have no heart. And I don't know if I said this last time. I said it on my other show, but you haven't got Dak Prescott signed. You haven't got Cooper signed. I'm wondering if people want to stay in Dallas. Do they want to play there or do they want to go someplace else? And that's why they're having so much trouble getting these guys signed.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's going to be interesting over the course of the offseason to see if there's an exodus from Dallas.
Yeah. I mean, Dak Prescott on the road since last year, 2018, has been 6-9. So a season's worth of road games, and he's less than 500, and will be less than 500.
Still, if he becomes a free agent, he'll be signed in 10 seconds.
Oh yeah, if he becomes a free agent, he's going where.
And I don't think they let that happen. I think they're going to have to franchise him. But at that point, now you're paying him what, $28 million, as opposed to a long-term deal, which should probably come in more like 22 or 23, yeah. And he's probably holding out for 30, or the top dollar on the market. So we'll see. I think this next season, quarterback-wise, is going to be really intriguing. There are going to be 8 or 10 changes in the starting quarterback position. I mean, you've got the old guys. Brady's contract's up. Breeze's contract's up. Rivers is up. Manning is up. Roethlisberger, I think, has another year. But with that elbow, who knows if he comes back? Dalton is going to be up. They've already made changes, in Carolina and in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tannehill's a free agent. Okay. So there's going to be a ton of stuff going on in the offseason at the quarterback position, which we don't usually see. And it's things that the team doesn't really have a lot of control over. Brady, Rivers, Breeze, Manning, Roethlisberger, if he's up, they're not going to get tagged. Andy Dalton's not going to get tagged.
No. So
these guys are going to be able to move around, and we'll see what happens. I think Rivers retires unless he comes back for one more year. There's talk that he wants to go, move back to Alabama, but he's got, I think, 2 kids in high school.
Yeah.
If they're in high school, and if they are, they're going to Cathedral in Poway. That's the big Catholic high school there. And you're going to move your kid in high school to go from Poway to Alabama?
Talk about a culture shock.
I mean, how cruel is this guy? How cruel would he be? So I don't know that he does. I think he's stuck there. I think he's trapped. And I don't know that he would move.
I don't think
but I don't know. I mean, I don't know him, but I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine me doing that. And if he comes back for another year to open the new stadium, that'd be great. I think if they keep winning. Okay, now they've got 5 wins now with 3 more games to play and a possibility of winning another 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah.
Or they could win all 3 of them, which would be par for the course, where they're just outside of the playoffs and just outside of the top 10 in the draft. So let's win all 3 games, so we end up 8-8.
And right in the middle of the thing.
And right in the middle of everything, yeah. Okay, too far down to get one of the good quarterbacks coming out, not high enough to get a really great player. So, that's pretty much their modus operandi. I would go, if I were them, I would take a serious look and make a serious run at either Teddy Bridgewater and or Ryan Tannehill. Both of them could step into this offense and run it seamlessly.
Yeah.
They might actually be looking at Tyrod Taylor. He played a little bit last week. He looked pretty good, and he has looked good in the past. We've seen him play well, in Buffalo. We've seen him play well in Cleveland even. And that's a possibility as well, and maybe he's more than just a gap quarterback. Maybe he's somebody that they're going to look at for the next couple of years. We'll see. But these quarterbacks all across the league are going to be retiring or on the move. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Particularly, what if Brady leaves New England? What if he retires? Okay. What if he's at this point when, we've always said when these guys get old, they get old fast. Suddenly they just can't play anymore. You know, we saw it happen with Peyton Manning. We're seeing it happen with Rivers. You know, and we might be seeing it happen with Brady. I don't know if it's the wide receivers or if it's Brady, but he's not playing like he's played before. And if his play falls down to a normal level, like everybody else in the league, he may not want to play anymore. Yeah. So he could retire. And he's talking about going someplace else, but who wants a 45-year-old Tom Brady? I want a 32-year-old Tom Brady.
Well, the 45-year-old Tom Brady is better than some of the quarterbacks that are out there.
Yeah, so. Well, there's no question about that. So. But what happens in New England if Brady leaves? Yeah. Okay.
The Bills will be. I think the Bills will be first place every year until Miami gets their act together.
Yeah.
Or the Jets.
Is Matt Castle the backup now in New England?
Give me a second. I'll go look that up.
I think he is. I don't think they've got anybody on the roster right now that is a Garoppolo or Brissett or any of those guys. They've traded all those guys away. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens there. And they will, of course, be drafting in the 20s, if not 32. And, you know, so they're not going to get a shot at any of these younger guys.
Yeah.
And I can't believe anybody would orchestrate a trade with them to put them in position to do that. I don't think they'd get that far up. They'd have to give away 10 years worth of draft to get, you know, from 29 or 32 to 4.
So obviously quarterback, number 1, Tom Brady. Second is Jarrett Stidham, S-T-I-D.
Stidham, yep. Okay.
Third is Cody Kessler.
All right. So there's no Garoppolo on there.
Yeah.
You know, or Brissett. So that's going to be an interesting situation to see.
Yeah.
I would expect in New Orleans that they re-sign Breeze for another couple of years. He's younger. Yeah. I think he's only 41. And still playing terrific. So I would expect to see that happen. And they'll probably be able to get that done with the reasonable cap hit, I would think. At this point, he's already made all the money in the world. And he was very tough with his contracts after he left San Diego. And the reason being, I think, he was pretty much an afterthought for the first part of his career.
Yeah.
He didn't go in the first round. He was the first pick in the second round. He didn't start for the first 2.5 years. He got on the field. He made a lot of mistakes. But he was learning. He was growing. He was learning. Never really got the respect that he thought he deserved. His second contract came around and they franchised him. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't give him a long-term deal. The next year came along, they franchised him again. Wouldn't give him a long-term deal. And then when his deal was finally up and he hurt his shoulder, they lowballed him and kicked him to the curb. And then New Orleans stepped in, offered him a $60 million contract to come and play quarterback. And this was 15 years ago. And it had contingencies in there that he had to be able to play,
Yeah.
And then the next contract came around, he stuck his heels in the dirt and said, no, I want to be the highest paid quarterback. And they came around with some $130 million deal or something. And he's done that twice, I think.
Yeah.
So guys made $200 million playing football. If he wants to play another couple of years, he's probably not going to be as strict in terms of being the highest paid or being this or being that. He'll want market value, but I don't see that it's going to be a big deal at this point in his career. He's gotten, I heard yesterday, the guy Barry Wilder that does the power rankings on Sirius.
Yeah.
He was at the owners meeting. They were actually in the room where they usually do. They will be doing the Hall of Fame voting, and he said, 5 years from the day Drew Brees retires, someone's going to be in this room and they're going to stand up to defend Drew Brees. And they're going to, for the Hall of Fame, and they're going to stand up and they're going to say, Drew Brees, and sit down. And that's all he's going to have to say.
Pretty much. The same is true for Tom Brady too. I mean.
Oh yeah.
So.
Anyway, so we'll have to see what happens with these, with this offseason. It's going to be really interesting. And, Carolina's now got a decision to make. I thought they had found their guy, and how he's turned into a turnover machine in Kyle Allen.
Yeah.
And if he comes back strong, if he has gone through that curve, that learning curve, and he's coming back out of it, because you got to remember he's still only a first year starter.
Yeah.
And he can play the next 3 games sharp, make good decisions, don't turn the ball over. They're going to feel better about it. And Cam Newton is another big question mark. Not only will they bring him back, or will they try to make a trade, but where would he go? And what would you trade for Cam Newton? I certainly don't want him to come to the Chargers. I think he's done. Personally, I think he's done, and I don't know that he's going to get a trade offer, and they may just outright release him.
I don't see
if Kyle Allen can play. If he doesn't play, they'll keep him on the roster.
Yeah. The only place I could see maybe trading for Cam, or even a Tom Brady, although I doubt Tom Brady would ever willingly go here, would be Tampa Bay.
You can't trade him. You can't trade Tom Brady. His contract's up.
Yeah, that's right. His contract's up. But I don't see him going here, but would be like the Bucks in Tampa Bay.
I can see that. They've got a big problem at quarterback right now, who's also a turnover machine. I think he has 103 turnovers in 69 games.
Yeah.
It might be 104. And he's another guy that they're going to have to, his contract's up too. They got to work. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Yeah. So his contract's up. So they have to figure out what they're going to do with him. And that'll be based on, on his play. If he was winning, he's on pace to break Brett Favre's single season interception, record. But the difference with Favre was they were winning while he was turning the ball over.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay's not winning. So if he's not winning, why keep him around? And if you don't keep him around, where do you go? So they'll be in a position to draft a quarterback, it looks like. But the more I'm looking at these quarterbacks, there's 3 or 4 that I really, really like. And there's a bunch of them that I just don't trust. Like Herbert out of Oregon. Every time I see him play, all I think of is Joey Harrington.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And coming out, Harrington had so much going for him, and he just couldn't play quarterback. And I think I see the same thing in this kid. And he's going to go in the first round. Someone's going to take a chance on him. But I just don't have any confidence in him developing into anything special.
Yeah.
Two is the other big question mark. Is he ever going to be able to play again? Everybody's saying he is. Everyone's saying, oh, he'll recover perfectly. He'll be perfectly fine. I have to see it to believe it. And I know when he first got hurt on this program, I was advocating that he not declare, he take the year off, he recover, he go to the combine next year and, show that he can still do what he does, just like Nick Bosa did. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those hard things to figure out for college quarterbacks or any college player that's an underclassman. Is your value now at the end of the college season going to be greater now or better next year when you get some more experience?
Well, in his instance, I think his physical ability to play the game is where the question mark is. He would have come out this year. He would have been 1 or 2 overall pick. Joe Burrow has kind of taken over that position with his play. It's just a question of whether or not he can physically do what he used to do, and if he loses a step, it's just, everyone goes back to Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Fastest guy on the planet, amazing athlete, gets a hip injury, becomes an average athlete. And it's a shame if that happens to him. And I don't know, I can kind of see somebody picking him up like in the late 20s in the draft. I could see the Chargers making rolling the dice on him at 17 or 18, wherever we end up. But it's a pretty big gamble. because if he can't play, he can't play.
Yeah.
And you can't teach him to be, to fix his hip. So that's it. What else has come up now is the Heisman finalists are out,
Yeah.
and it's Joe Burrow at LSU, Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma, Fields, the quarterback at Ohio State, and Chase Young, the defensive end at Ohio State. I'd love to see Chase Young win this. He's had a great career at Ohio State. He's in a long line of pass rushers, and whoever that defensive line coach at Ohio State is, he needs to get a promotion. You need to get this guy into the NFL because in 4 years he's produced 3 first-round draft picks, and so whoever this guy is, and Nick Bosa has credited him many times with his technique and his drive and helped create the player that he is, and he just did it again with this Chase Young guy. So somebody should be looking at him for something. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get to our games.
Yeah, why not? Let's do this. So, gonna start with tonight's game at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. Jets versus Ravens. I think I already know who you're gonna pick.
Well, Lamar Jackson has that quad injury. He says he's going to play. He's questionable, last I heard. But even if he doesn't play, it's got to be Baltimore over the Jets.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. No offense to the Jets. I mean, they're improving as a team, but they need to do a lot more to get better.
Yeah, so. Particularly against that team.
Yeah.
So I've got New England and Cincinnati next. Well, with all of the the information that New England has gathered over the course of the last week, I'm going to have to pick the Patriots here. Yeah, yeah, obviously.
Obviously, because the Patriots can't win without spying on somebody.
Yeah, they can't beat a 1-13 team without a special advantage. So this might be a good way that Brady kind of cures a lot of his ills in this game. And comes away with a 350-yard, 4-touchdown performance and feels better about himself and goes into the next 2 games in the playoffs feeling cocky, just what we all need, and maybe turns that offense around a little bit. Yeah. They're still sputtering. I mean, they're not as good as they were in the past, and they've had a couple of losses now, 2 in a row. They're not going to lose 3 in a row, and 2 in a row against good teams. So it's time for them to bounce back and see. I would love to see them in the 5th or 6th seed, though. That would be cool. But actually, it could happen. If Buffalo wins out, Buffalo beats New England, Buffalo wins the East.
Oh, that's true.
If Buffalo wins the East, boom, New England's 5 or 6.
Yeah, automatically.
So I mean, that would be. I'd love to see that happen. I just don't think it will. Yeah, because it never does. But we'll see. Anyway, next one I've got here is Tampa Bay at Detroit. Ooh. This is a can't-miss game, that's for sure.
Yeah. Buccaneers are 29.1 points per game this season. I don't know if that's the defense or the offense, so I'm going to assume it's the offense, but...
Yeah. Well, and, Jameis is good for 2 turnovers.
Stafford should be good for at least 1 if he's playing.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, he hasn't been back for quite a while. So
yeah, I think they're going to shut him down for the season.
Yeah.
And the second kid was hurt. I don't know if he's coming back yet. So they're still on their 3rd string quarterback, but they're home. So I'll take Detroit.
All right, you're going to take the Lions. I think I'm going to go on the wild card here and take the Bucks just because. Why not? Let's see what the line is on this one.
Well, somebody's going to win, so why not?
We said that week 1, remember?
All right. So I got Chicago at Green Bay. Trubisky's been playing better of late.
Yeah.
So is Aaron Rodgers, and Khalil Mack's not had the year that he we all thought he would have.
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting. I think they double team him an awful lot, and he's been having trouble getting off those blocks. But it's in Green Bay. It's against Chicago, so I'm going to take Green Bay.
All right. Gonna take Green Bay. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Packers as well. Don't get me wrong. I think the Bears have improved since early this season, but it's Aaron Rodgers at home. It's hard to pick against that, like Tom Brady.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. What do we got next here? I have Houston at Tennessee.
Houston.
What the hell is going on in Houston?
I have no clue.
Talk about a hot and cold team. They get decimated by the Baltimore Ravens. They come back, they win big. They beat New England, and then they get their ass kicked by Denver last week. I have no answer for this team. I can't even imagine what is going on in that huddle. All I know is that they're hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. They were cold last week, so they're going to be hot this week. It's a division game. It's in Tennessee. Tennessee has got some defensive issues. And of course, my boy Ryan Tannehill's there. But I think I'm going to roll the dice on the Houston Texans in this game just because of the hot cold rhythm. And they're due. They're due to play well.
Well, just remember that Tannehill this year is 6-1 as a starter.
Yes, that's very true.
And Tennessee has the home advantage on this one of just 3 points.
Yeah, well, so that's them saying it's pretty even.
Yeah, it is pretty even. Let's make it interesting. I'll go with the Titans. Go with your boy Tannehill.
There you go.
And how is it that New England only has a 9.5 point spread against the Bengals, yet Baltimore has a 16.5 against the Jets?
Well, Baltimore's been scoring an awful lot of points, and New England hasn't. So that's pretty much it. All right. Denver at Kansas City. Do you think Denver has a quarterback?
No.
It's only been 2 games, but he's played awfully well. And, at the end of next year, we'll know the answer to that question.
Exactly.
But for the first time in years, you look at the Denver quarterback situation and go, well, maybe they've got something.
Yeah.
And they've been through an awful lot of guys since Peyton Manning. And this guy seems to at least understand what's going on. He plays well. Game's not too big for him. Puts up a lot of points, puts up a lot of yards. So we'll see what happens. I don't think he goes into Kansas City and wins this week.
No.
But something to keep your eye on, because if Denver has a quarterback, oh, come on. Anyway, so I'll take the Chiefs. Mahomes playing. He's 100% healthy. Their defense over the last 4 or 5 weeks has gotten tremendously better.
Yeah.
They really have. And they're getting stingy with points. So
they held the Patriots to 16 points last week. And it's the Patriots' first home loss since week 4 of 2017.
Yep, 21 straight. Even though picking Kansas City at home is not any upset, I'm going to take Kansas City at home.
Yeah, I'm taking Kansas City at home too. I think the Broncos might have found their quarterback of the future, but only time will tell. And going into Kansas City to beat the Chiefs is a lot different than who did they play last week? They played
Houston. They crushed Houston.
In Houston.
Houston. They kicked their ass up and down the field.
It was a 2-score game, yeah.
I was looking at that. I kept looking at that game going, what's going on down there?
Yeah.
What the hell is going on out there? So anyway, next up this is an interesting game. Miami at the Giants. Daniel Jones did practice yesterday.
Yeah.
So he might be back. I have to say, I picked the Giants last week just because I thought it's going to be Eli's last game. He's going to come out. He's going to make a statement. In the first half, he certainly did.
Yeah, I was worried about it.
He threw almost for 200 yards. He had 2 touchdown passes. And then in the second half, he threw for 14 yards and no touchdowns. And
And you wonder why he's on
he,
the bench.
he got old at halftime. You know,
Yeah.
it happens fast at the quarterback position. Yeah, and then it goes into overtime, and Philadelphia marches down the field and scores a touchdown and ends the game, and Eli never gets back on the field. So, but this week, Miami versus going into the Giants, I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins in this game. I think they have been playing so much better than anybody anticipated. Fitzpatrick still has that gleam in his eye. He's having a lot of fun playing football for the Dolphins right now. There's nothing at stake. Everything is all, he's got everything all out there. The Giants are under so much scrutiny and so much pressure. If Jones comes back, it's a humongous amount of pressure for him. And he's, been okay, but he's not been great. And I'm sure in 2 years, he's going to be a much better quarterback than he is right now. Eli did some things last week that Daniel Jones could not have done. And maybe he learned from that. So that would be nice. But I think the Giants are one of these teams in total disarray. And I don't know that they can win another game this year.
Yeah. It's looking tough. I'm going to go with the Dolphins as well. Even if Eli's the one to start, he's at the end of his career, and there's no way he's going to make a turnaround. And if he gets signed by anybody after this season, it's going to be literally as a backup to groom a young quarterback.
Consensus seems to be he's going to retire.
Yeah.
And he should at this point. He's got 16 years in, 17 years in. He just turned 39. And, if you look back and say, hey, I played 16 years in the NFL and retired at 39, good for you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
and I made, hundreds of millions of dollars. So, he got his last shot last week, and it's like doing your last show. You're in a show for 6 months, and then the show's closing, and now it's closing night, and you go out on stage, and this is the last time you'll ever do this.
Yeah,
and it's satisfying to know that it's the last time, as opposed to going out and playing a game and getting injured and never being able to play again. There's got to be a frustration about that just gnaws at you forever. So he'll be able to walk away on his own terms. And good for him. Yeah. But I think the Giants are just a cluster up there, and there's nothing that they're going to be able to do to pull that out. All right, next game, another NFC East clash of the Titans, Philadelphia versus the Redskins in Washington. Philadelphia is an interesting team this year. They're hanging on by a thread. Mm-hmm. If they were in any other division, they would be totally out of it, except that they're tied for first in the East at 6-7, I think it is. And it's going to be interesting when one of these two teams, Dallas or Philly, is going to be in the playoffs. And they're going to be in the playoffs with at best, 9-7 record, quite possibly 8-8. And then Seattle or San Francisco is going to go to that city with their 12-4 record and have to play, the 8-8 Cowboys or the 8-8 Eagles. I
won't be surprised if it's 7-9 teams like Seattle did that one year.
It doesn't happen that often, and it's nothing that people need to get all bent out of shape about. It's you win your division, you get a home game.
Yeah,
boom, simple as that. It's not a big deal in my mind. It's just going to be funny that you're going to get your head handed to you, in the first round of the playoffs in your home stadium.
Yeah,
that's not going to be pretty. but who knows? Seattle won that game. That was the Marshawn Lynch game, the Saints game.
Yep.
So that's why you play the game. So, but anyway, in this game, I am going to take the Philadelphia Eagles over the lowly Washington Redskins. Haskins is slow developing. Boy, I thought he was the most ready quarterback coming out of the class last year. And he has just been very, very slow developing. You can see signs. He's starting to get better. Defensively, Washington still has some real tools there, and I'm surprised they're not playing better. But I was thinking about this the other day as far as the Redskins are concerned. They used to be such a powerhouse. They had those three, Joe Gibbs brought them to three Super Bowl victories with three different
Yep.
quarterbacks. And, they were such a powerhouse. And since, what's his name? Who's the owner
Oh,
in
Dan
Washington?
Snyder.
Dan Snyder took over. It really hasn't been. It's been one bad decision after another, after another, after another. And coaching wise, quarterback wise, and they've got a good defense. They've got good defensive players. That they got a great defensive line. I think Kerrigan might be hurt right now. I don't know if he's playing this weekend or not, but they've got good players on that defensive side, and they just can't seem to put it together and make it work. So, we'll see what happens as far as, the offseason and the coaching changes and all of that goes. And maybe someone can come in and, pull this talent together and make something happen. But I'm going to take Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm taking Philly as well. It's just not the Redskins' year, unfortunately. We'll see what it looks like next year. Maybe after a full offseason as the guy, Haskins will be able to, move forward as the quarterback,
Yep.
And it looks like the last morning game that I have is Seattle at Carolina.
Seattle better win this game. Carolina is another team. They're done. They've packed up their lockers. They're waiting for this season to be over. They've got the coaching change, the ridiculous coaching change that they made there.
Yeah.
Kyle Allen has turned into a turnover machine. He's got to turn himself around if he expects to, have a career in this league. And I can't see anything good happening in Carolina until, free agency. So I would take the Seattle Seahawks, the disappointing Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Couldn't even beat the Rams. Come on.
It's just one of those.
I was really shocked at that, as a matter of fact, the way they played. But everybody has those games. But there's so much on the line for them, and to go into the Rams and play as poorly as they did, it was very disappointing. But
they were grieving for my mother-in-law.
Well, that was nice of them. But they'll bounce back, and I just can't see them losing to Carolina.
Yeah, Russell Wilson in his career against the Panthers are 5-1. If Cam Newton was playing in his prime, I might be a little more worried. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a definite trap game potential for them. They could be easily overlooking the Panthers and looking onto week 16 with the Cardinals. So,
yeah, but if they had won last week, I think it would have become a trap game. The fact they lost last week, this is no longer a trap game. This is a game they have to win, and they're going to be focused on doing that. And it's a game they can win.
Yeah.
So that'll put them right back in contention. What's next? I got Jacksonville at Oakland.
For the last home game in Alameda.
There you go. And you can't say good riddance is all I can say to Alameda County. Jacksonville at Oakland. Jacksonville played so poorly last week. Or did they? Did the Chargers just play really, really well? I don't know. I mean,
Eckler rushed for 101 and had 112 receiving yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. And he scored the longest touchdown of Phillip Rivers' career, which was a little screen pass out to the right that he took 84 yards to the house, in a straight line too. Yeah. I mean, he caught that pass and he just went zoom right to the end zone. Nobody was near him. It was almost like the high schools do when they have the handicap kid. And they give him the ball, and then they all pretend to tackle him, and they miss him.
Yeah,
and he scores. That's what it looked like to me. I was like, "Isn't anyone going to get near him?" Boom, right down the middle. Yeah. So I guess Minshew didn't play badly. There's another quarterback issue right there in Jacksonville because they have no choice with Nick Foles. No one's touching that contract. Yeah. No one's touching Nick Foles. It's. They'll go back into camp, and then he'll get his full camp again. He'll come back, and I'm sure he'll end up starting again next year, and maybe do better, just because the rhythm won't be broken of playing 2 series, then getting hurt and missing 10 weeks. But I don't know what's going on in Jacksonville. Oakland needs a win. They need to bounce back. They've had I think lost three in a row now, and are just played horrifically last week. But they are home in the last game in Oakland, and so I'll take the Raiders.
Begrudgingly.
Yes, as always. But if it was any more formidable opponent, I probably would take that opponent. But I'll take the Raiders against Jacksonville in Oakland. If this game was turned around and they were going to Jacksonville, I'd take Jacksonville there because Oakland cannot go east.
Well,
But
yeah, that's true. Oakland's got a 6.5 spread favorite here.
yeah, so I'll take the Raiders.
Yeah, the Jaguars, they're up and down all season, and then obviously still talking about the Jalen Ramsey trade to the Rams, which I think was the biggest factor in the Rams win against the Seahawks. Is he was able to help shut things down that they weren't able to do the previous time we met up in Seattle. So, with all that said, the Jags, I just don't know. Gardner Minshew is going to be a good quarterback going forward. Whether he stays with Jacksonville or he gets traded away, who knows? But,
yeah, I don't. I can't see them trading him. He's a 6th-round draft pick. His contract, I think I looked it up. He's got a 3-year deal, for total $2 million.
Yeah.
So he's not going anywhere. And why would you? Why would you trade a guy like that when you're got that kind of insecurity in your supposed starter? It'll be interesting to see how they battle that out next year in training camp.
Yeah.
That would be a great place for Hard Knocks to go. Is
That
Jacksonville?
Would be. Yeah.
And check out the that quarterback controversy or quarterback competition in camp, because I don't know. Foles he's an interesting guy. In the back of my head, I keep thinking he might just hang it up. He almost did it once. He had to be Andy Reid talked him out of retirement essentially.
Yeah.
He was done. He just said, "You know what? I just shouldn't play this game anymore." And he went to Kansas City for 2 years as a backup and did, never played for the most part, and then ended up as a backup in Philadelphia, and his life changed.
Yeah.
And now he's got, this huge contract, $80 million, $84 million in Jacksonville for 2 years, and he can't play. So he might. I mean, who knows? But just in the back of my head, he's the kind of guy that's going to say, "I can't take your money. I can't do that," and just hang it up. So I don't expect that to happen. It's just a thought that crossed my mind, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it. So anyway, I'm taking Oakland, and according to Yahoo, 94% of all people playing in this pool are taking the Oakland Raiders as well. So there's not a lot of hope out there for Jacksonville.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. So next game, what do we got?
I've got here's an interesting one. Cleveland going to Arizona. Good battle of the quarterbacks. 2 young guys in the league. Arizona, God, they were so close to being better than we thought they would be.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't come together. I haven't watched them a lot, as a matter of fact. Very seldom, as a matter of fact, have I seen Arizona play. Maybe I'll take a closer look at this game on Sunday just to watch to see exactly what's happening there. Kyler Murray's played better than I thought he would. I don't know if Kingsbury's system is working, particularly defensively. They seem to give up a lot of points.
Yeah.
But I'll look at that game closer this week. But I'm going to take Cleveland in this situation.
Yeah, I'm taking Cleveland as well. However, just to let it be known, Kyler Murray has scored the most passing touchdowns by an Arizona rookie since the Super Bowl era started.
Wow.
So don't take them too lightly in this game. A 9-3-1 record is not indicative of where their team is truly playing at. They've had a tough schedule this year.
You mean 3-9-1?
Oh yeah, 3-9-1. Sorry.
I was going to say, wait, did I miss something?
No,
I just
I
said
read
I
that
haven't been
wrong.
watching them. I just said I haven't been watching them, but maybe I missed something.
No,
Yeah,
I
3-9-1. I know. I agree.
so
Anyway, next we've got the mighty Minnesota Vikings going against the mighty Los Angeles Chargers.
now you've been picking the Vikings a lot lately. Is there any hesitation
Not
in this
gonna
one?
happen. Nope, not gonna happen. Um, actually, I think if the team that played Green Bay and played Jacksonville plays this Minnesota team, they could win this game.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. I got to text Scotty today, as a matter of fact, and put a little wager on this. But Minnesota's they're a good team. There's no question. I'm on their bandwagon.
They're 3-4 on the road.
Yeah, but I was just going to say Cousins doesn't do well on the road, and if the Chargers play like they're capable of playing, they'll win this game. And of course, as I said earlier, that's about what they do. They're going to win out, end up 8-8, 7-9, and boom, be in the middle of the pack for the draft. And then they're going to be one game out of the playoffs. So, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm taking the Chargers, of course.
I'm taking the Vikings.
All right.
I'm taking them for their 4th win on the road.
There you go. That's good. I need to pick up more games.
All right.
Okay, then we got the Rams going into Dallas. Boom, boom, boom. Interesting game. To me, this is a game Dallas could win.
It is.
But I just see this team in total disarray as well. And and I don't really have any confidence in them. Since Zeke signed that contract, he hasn't been Zeke. Dak Prescott is proving to be mediocre with every passing play that he makes. He's due to have a good game. They're all due to have a good game. I think they see the writing on the wall, and they know that Garrett's going to be gone. I think the players like Garrett.
Yeah.
That's the impression that I get. I think they like Garrett, but I think they recognize that he's going to be gone, and that kind of has taken the steam out of their sail, the wind out of their sails.
Yeah.
And the Rams they're still struggling. They are fighting for the playoffs, and I don't see that on the Rams side. I see the Rams still playing, still fighting, still wanting to win. And so I'm going to take the Rams going into Dallas.
I'm taking the Rams to go into Dallas too. It's more of how they played last week that's really pushed it for me to take them this week as well.
Yeah.
If Seattle isn't careful, they could be bounced out of the playoffs by the Rams if the Seahawks don't win out these next 3 games. With that said, though, the Rams, if they're playing well, they could easily beat out Minnesota as the 6th seed.
Yeah, and they're struggling to do that. They're 7th right now, I think.
They're not 7th right now
as of today, and that's a big deal. So many teams have lost the Super Bowl and then not made the playoffs the next year. And I said a couple of weeks ago that I expect the Rams to be that team this year.
Yeah.
They had a little bit of a resurgence last week, so I know they're still alive and kicking, and I just don't see any heart in Dallas. So that's why I'm taking the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a tough one. San Francisco versus Atlanta in San Francisco. Taking the 49ers and moving on.
Yeah, not much else needs to be said. No offense to the Falcons, but with the way the 49ers are playing this year, even I have to pick them.
Yeah. I'm real excited. I'm actually excited about this San Francisco team. I'd love to see that, worst to first thing going on, and particularly as well as they're playing. and they've had a couple of losses, but everybody does. But I think they're gearing up at this point, and the fact that they're in a tight race for first in the division with Seattle is really significant. They both got Seattle and 49ers both have winnable games, and I anticipate they both win them.
Yeah.
And that'll just make that next week when San Francisco goes to Seattle the game of the year.
Yeah, it will be.
It really will be. And we've had 3 or 4 game of the years with San Francisco. Last week in New Orleans.
The week that Seattle went in and played was a good
Seattle
one.
went in and played. Baltimore came in and played. They've had a lot of really, really high-profile games this year, and they've done well in them for the most part.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun to watch them through this playoff series. Next, I've got Buffalo going into Pittsburgh.
Yep. Battle for the 5th and 6th seeds.
Well. I'm going to take Buffalo in this game.
You're going to take the Bills? All right.
I'm going to take the Bills. I like the way their defense is playing. I like the way Josh Allen is playing. Pittsburgh still has this rookie Duck Hodges.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just hate that nickname. I don't know why. I just hate that. And the thought of seeing him with the duck calls just, but he might be the answer for Pittsburgh in the long run. The way everybody talks about him and the way he's been playing.
Yeah.
So there is that, and Pittsburgh just keeps fighting.
They've won 7 of their last 8 games. So
yep, they are just fighting. But I think Buffalo's doing the same thing, and Buffalo has more to prove than Pittsburgh does at this point in time. Buffalo wants to win the East.
Yeah.
And they're in position to do it, but they have to beat the Steelers and they have to beat the Patriots.
Yep.
And I think Miami is their last game. I'm not sure. But
give me a quick second here. I'll go to
I am looking at Buffalo and in an upset, and I'd say in an upset at Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Bills' last game is the Jets. Steelers' last game is against the Ravens. And Patriots play the Dolphins, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Next week, I think you're right. They're playing the Patriots next week as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
On Saturday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's the December games. They start going to Saturdays.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the Bills.
I'm taking the Bills as well.
Wow, I thought you were going to take the Steelers for sure.
No. I think for the Steelers, they're not going to fall off the playoff train, but I think that this is a game that they're going to be a little overhyped and think that they're going to win, which they easily could win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're going to just collapse and fail, but I just think it's going to be one bad play that's going to cost them a field goal or a touchdown. That will be the deciding factor. So,
okay. And our final game on Monday night, the Indianapolis Colts go into New Orleans. And
at the beginning of the season, I'll tell you this: even if Andrew Luck was still playing, I had penned in the Saints for a win here. I'm changing that to a pencil W, just because the Colts have impressed me this year.
Yeah. Yahoo, the Yahoo poll here for everyone that plays this game. 99% of the participants have picked the New Orleans Saints.
Oh yeah,
and there's many thousands of people on this little thing.
Oh yeah.
So I'm also picking the Saints because it's in New Orleans. They're not going to lose 2 in a row at home, and
they're 8.5 point spread favorites on this. So
and they're just a better team, and they're gonna wind up. They're also they want the number 1 overall seed too.
Yeah.
So, or at least the bye. So there's a lot at stake for them. Even though they have clinched their division, they're going into the playoffs. They have not played like that. They're still playing full out, looking for that number 1 spot. So I like the New Orleans Saints here.
Yep. I like them too. It is just, well, we'll see, And how have the Ravens not clinched their division yet?
That's a good question. Well, the Steelers are still there.
Well, yeah, no, there is still one more. I guess they need to win one more game, and then they've clinched it.
I believe so. I think if they win this week, they clinch.
Yeah. Because I'm sitting here looking at the
Or if
playoff
they win
standings.
tonight. Yeah, if they win tonight, they clinch.
So.
And they're the number 1 seed right now in the East or in the AFC. So,
yeah.
I'm sure they've clinched a playoff spot by now.
Yes, they've clinched playoffs.
Yeah, so they just haven't clinched the division yet.
Yeah.
A win tonight will do that.
Yep.
So there you go. So that is week 15.
Yeah.
Wow. Only 2 more weeks to go. Closing thoughts. I had a few, but I can't remember them. No. I don't. It's just. It'll be interesting to see now as the playoff board gets set exactly where everyone's going to fall. And there's still some great races. The NFC West won't be decided until
week
16 or 17.
Yeah.
The NFC East might not be decided till then. At 7 and 9 or 8 and 8, that'll be hysterical. Just be hysterical. And then what happens? It happened 10 years or so ago with the Patriots. The Patriots lost to the Dolphins and the Chargers through the course of the year. They ended up 11 and 5 and missed the playoffs. It was the year Brady got hurt. Hurt. And people are outraged. How can an 11 and 5 team not go into the playoffs? And look at that team over there. They're 10 and 6 and they're in the playoffs. And these guys are 9 and 7 and they're in the playoffs. Well, win your division.
Yep. That's
okay. Beat the Dolphins.
That'll be a good topic for the business season, is discussing the win your division and get a playoff game.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I
don't have a problem with it either. I think
it works just fine.
Yeah.
And there are times when these weird things happen, but that's the reality is the Patriots have taken advantage of a weak division for years. All right. So they end up in the playoffs at 12 and 4, 11 and 5 every year.
Yeah.
But they get 6 wins. But they start 6-0.
Yeah.
Because of the weakness of their division. It just so happens that in the NFC East right now, there is no Patriots. They're all weak. And, they're going to end up 8 and 8 or 7 and 9.
Yeah.
But they win their division. So they get a home playoff game. That's the way it works. If you were in that division, you'd be dominating it.
Yep.
So, if the Chargers were in that division, they'd still be in the hunt. So I have no issue with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I do have an interesting evening coming up, though. I'm going to do a podcast with a friend of mine who does these around town. I've done them with him several times before, and he just goes to a live event and does a podcast live, inviting people to come down and join him. And it's tonight is the 16th anniversary of the Sapphire Gentlemen's Club. And I'll be there doing a live podcast from the strip club here in Vegas. So it's a job. Somebody's got to do it.
Exactly.
So if anybody is in Vegas tonight, come on down to Sapphires between 7 and 9. Drop my name at the door and they'll let you in free. So there you go. And no, I will not have pictures. So.
Oh, I'll be watching your Facebook intently. I'm sure your wife will be too.
Yeah, I think she's coming with me, actually. So
to keep you in line, I got it.
Yeah, I just wants to make a few extra bucks. So
all
right, that's it, guys. We'll see you next week. Yeah. Good luck, everybody. Have a great weekend, and may your teams win, unless you're Scotty.
Well, I'm rooting for the Vikings in that one. So there we go. You guys have a great week.
Take care.